All right, our inventions unit. Today we're going to talk about the Wright Brothers and their, not invention, but success or failures as they worked on the airplane. So we're going to read the Wright Brothers, and it's written by Elizabeth McLeod and illustrated by Andre Christoffersky. Sorry if I messed that up. All right, here we go. The Wright Brothers. For hundreds of years, people dreamed of flying. They watched birds fly through the sky and wondered if someday people might find a way to fly. Orville and Wilbur Wright dreamed of flying too. One day, they made their dreams come true. The Wright brothers invented the airplane. Back in 1878, Orville and Wilbur were growing up in Dayton, Ohio, in the United States. Their father gave them a flying toy they called the Bat, and the brothers loved playing with it. So Orville and Wilbur liked to build their own toys too. They also built kites that they sold to other children. And in 1886, when Wilbur was 18 years old, he was ready for college. But then during a hockey game, Wilbur was knocked down. He hurt his head and lost his 2 front teeth. Wilbur got false teeth to replace the missing ones, but he still felt weak and did not want to leave home. So Wilbur gave up the idea of going to college. The brothers started a newspaper called the West Side News. Wilbur wrote most of the stories, and Orville printed the paper, and their newspaper was a great success. I love that as siblings they did things together. A few years later, Orville and Wilbur were ready for change, and in 1892 they opened a store to sell and repair bicycles. Bicycles were a new invention then, and this time more and more people were riding them, so both brothers loved bicycling, so they learned to fix them. Orville and Wilbur still liked to build things, so soon they began to sell bicycles that they had built themselves. One day, in 1896, Orville became very sick, and he had a high fever. His family was afraid that he might get really, really sick. Luckily, Wilbur was there. He sat with Orville every day, taking care of him and reading to him. What kind of books did Wilbur read to his brother? He read books about, what do you think? Flying. Some were about inventors who had tried to build flying machines. Even while Orville slept, Wilbur kept on reading. And soon, when Orville was better, he and Wilbur began to think about building their own flying machine. They knew an airplane needed 3 things: strong wings, a way to steer it, and an engine to give it power. One day, Wilbur was watching birds fly. There they are. He noticed that birds twisted the tips of their wings when they wanted to change direction. Wilbur wondered if twisting the wings on an airplane would help steer it. In the summer of 1899, Wilbur built a big kite with 2 wings to test his idea. So his kite, look at what it looked like. It worked. Twisting the tips of the wings helped Wilbur steer his kite. So next, the Wright brothers built a glider. And a glider is like an airplane, but it doesn't have a motor. It just glides, and it needs wind to fly. The glider Orville and Wilbur built was big enough to carry a person, but they had to make sure the glider would fly safely before one of them tried flying it. To get their glider in the air, the brothers needed to take it somewhere with lots of wind. Orville and Wilbur chose a place called Kitty Hawk in North Carolina. Kitty Hawk is beside the Atlantic Ocean. It is one of the windiest places in America, and it has lots of sand. Sand would give the glider a soft place to land. So in October in the 1900s, the brothers started testing their glider at Kitty Hawk. Sometimes people helped them. The strong winds at Kitty Hawk whipped sand into Orville and Wilbur's eyes. One time the wind picked up the glider and smashed it back down. The Wright brothers just repaired their glider. They made changes to help it fly even smoother. For the next 3 years, Orville and Wilbur spent most of their time in Dayton, which is in Ohio where they lived. But every fall, they went to Kitty Hawk and worked on their glider. The brothers built larger and larger gliders. They also tried using different wing shapes and tails. They were trying different ways to make it work. By the fall of 1903, the Wright brothers were ready for the next step. They wanted to turn a glider into an airplane. To do that, the brothers needed to add a motor. They created a motor that was powerful and light, and then they attached it to the glider. At first, the motor didn't work very well, but Orville and Wilbur kept trying. The winds at Kitty Hawk blew colder and colder, and sometimes the brothers had to wear their coats, shoes, and hats in bed to stay warm. Have any of you ever done that when you went camping? Wore your clothes to bed? By December 14th, Orville and Wilbur were ready to try their plane. They called it the Flyer, but it could only hold one person. Which brother would get to go first? So to decide, they flipped a coin. Heads or tails is my guess, is how they chose. Wilbur won the coin toss. He climbed into the Flyer, it sped forward, lifted into the air, and crashed. Luckily, Wilbur wasn't hurt, but it took the brothers 2 days to fix the Flyer. Do you think they tried again? Orville and Wilbur were ready to try again, but their airplane needed wind to take off. There was none that day, so they waited the next day, December 17th. It was very windy. In fact, it was too windy to test the Flyer. So the brothers decided to try anyways. Winter was coming and they couldn't wait. It soon would be too cold at Kitty Hawk. They would have to wait until spring then to test the Flyer. So Wilbur and Orville did not want to wait. Someone else might become the first to fly. And that was their goal, to be the first. So the brothers waited until the winds were a little calmer. This time, it was Orville's turn to fly the airplane. He carefully lay down in the middle of the Flyer. There he is. So instead of sitting in a chair like we see now, he was laying. Wilbur held his breath as he watched the Flyer take off. It flew into the sky. So on December 17th, 1903, Orville Wright became the first person to fly in an airplane. Orville's flight only lasted 12 seconds. So if you count to 12, there's your 12 seconds. So it wasn't very long. And the airplane didn't go very far. But the brothers made more flights that day, and each time the Flyer stayed in the air longer. The Wright brothers became world famous for their invention. They went on to build bigger and better planes. It's used to take days to cross the ocean in a ship, but today, thanks to Orville and Wilbur, people can fly that far in hours. The airplane became one of the most important machines ever invented. It all started with two brothers and a dream. So after reading this, what I'd like you to try and do is to make a paper airplane. Make it out of however you want. Design it, practice throwing it. If it doesn't work, do like they did. Try again. And then you can even make an airplane, but I wouldn't try throwing it, out of Legos or connectors. Anything you have to build with, you can do that as well. Love to see pictures, even videos of you trying to make your airplane fly. But remember, keep practicing, and anything you invent, it doesn't always work the first time, so keep doing it. All right, see you later. Bye.